So a couple of weeks ago, we were all hit with a pretty crazy and surprising rumor that apparently Nintendo is looking at remastering several of their 3D Mario games to release on the Nintendo Switch this year. The whole concept is super insane, but also very exciting, at least for me. I obviously found it very exciting, as I talked about in my video about the news. The fact that Nintendo might be looking at taking some of their most famous Mario games and remastering them and bringing them over to the Switch is a really crazy thought, but considering that we haven't seen a lot of Nintendo content on the Switch in 2020, it definitely feels like something that could really help fill out the library for this year. Now, obviously, there are a lot of factors that still need to be considered here because, as we all know, this story hasn't even yet been confirmed. This revolved around Nintendo potentially, at least per the story and per the rumor, potentially planning on having like a Mario-themed event during E3, which we now know, of course, is canceled, and that during this event, which might have been an in-person event, that's kind of what it sounded like with the way the story described it, during this event, they would be celebrating the 35th anniversary of Super Mario, which of course is this year in 2020, and that one of the things they were going to do was announce all of these Mario games. And the fact that a couple of weeks even before that, we had this like Mario Lego team-up thing where there's this Lego set that's themed with Mario that's coming out this year. Maybe this was in relation to Nintendo wanting to promote the 35th anniversary of Mario, and so they're doing some non-gaming stuff, they're doing some gaming stuff with these remasters, and that's just going to be the year of Mario. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I wanted to bring this story back and talk about it a little bit more today. Obviously, one of the reasons is I am, like I said, very excited for this. I think that this sounds like a great idea. And normally, in a year like 2020, where it's been so slow, I feel like I probably would have been more annoyed with the idea, like, why bring back old games that we've already played, and I already have all of these games anyway, so why do that when you could be making new games? That would probably more than likely be my opinion, but for some reason, man, these games, this concept, and this rumor, it is really exciting to me, and I think it's just, I'm just kind of feeling good Mario games right now. It's kind of just something that I want to be playing. And granted, in 2020, where it's been so slow, I haven't had any Nintendo content to enjoy personally, because I'm not an Animal Crossing fan. They've got this new Mario Maker content. I'm not a Mario Maker fan. There's DLC for Pokemon coming. I'm not a Pokemon fan. So as I joked about on Twitter, the only franchises that Nintendo makes that I don't actually enjoy are the ones getting content so far in 2020. And it's just a coincidence. I'm not mad about it, you know, partly because they don't have to make stuff that appeals to me, and partly because the health situation is what's impacting this. But I did think that it was kind of ironic and funny. And because I am such a huge Mario fan, and I am very excited about all of these games that they're talking about, that does have me very excited. And so it's like, you know what? I'm willing to just be pumped at the idea of replaying Mario Galaxy or Mario Sunshine or Mario 64 on my Switch. But the other reason that I did want to talk about this today is because 2020 is still such a mystery, and this story, this rumor about these Mario games, is one of the few tasty morsels of Nintendo goodness that we have to hold on to and potentially be excited for this year. If we come up in June, the time that E3 was supposed to happen, and Nintendo maybe doesn't give us any sort of big information or an E3 Direct or any kind of, you know, games that we know we can play this year, suddenly we realize we're going to be in a pretty bad situation. And I discussed this on a recent video, the idea of Nintendo giving up on 2020, the fact that I would be okay with it if they had to, and that I also think E3 time, you know, the month of June, is probably going to be the last-ditch effort for Nintendo to potentially address us. For me, that's the last bastion of hope. June, the month of June, the week of E3, if that comes and goes and we don't hear from Nintendo between now and then, I kind of think that means that Nintendo is done for the year. And as I also said in that video, I think that they would at least owe people an explanation and like a public statement that confirms this. I don't think that's a crazy thing to ask for. So if that happens, hopefully they decide to do that. But what if that week comes and instead of giving us a Nintendo Direct with all sorts of 2020 surprises that we're hoping to see, what if they instead do this Mario thing and they maybe have like a Mario Direct presentation that's like 20, 30 minutes or something? And in that, they talk about Mario, they celebrate the 35th anniversary, and at the end, they say, hey, and we're also bringing you all of these Mario games. You're getting Mario 64, you're getting Mario Sunshine, you're getting Mario Galaxy, you're getting Mario 3D World, maybe Galaxy 2 as well, no one really knows about that one. But if we get those 4 or 5 Mario games, that becomes very exciting, and then does it become a situation where those games are meant to fill out the back half of 2020 for Nintendo? Now, beyond this, there's actually several other factors to consider if this even became a reality, such as, are these games going to be remasters or even just straight ports, which I don't think a lot of people are considering that they might just be ports. And that would be crazy. Maybe I'll talk about that in a different video, but that's one of the things we have to consider. We also would have to consider how these would release. Are these meant to release in like an all-star package of all of the games together? Are they maybe going to package things like Galaxy 1 and 2 together and then maybe like 64 and Sunshine, and so we're getting, you know, maybe 2 or 3 releases of these games? Or are they planning on releasing them all completely separate, so we would get like 4 or 5 separate Mario game releases over the course of the following 6 months? I mean, all of these things and more, these are kinds of like the particulars and the details of this that we don't yet know, even if this thing turns out to be true, and it could really help shape the back half of 2020. Because, I mean, just think about it. If they release like a Mario All-Stars pack and all of these games are on one retail package for $60, that would be great because we get an amazing value for just $60, but it also means that's only one game release. However, if they chose to release these games individually, we then have 4 or 5 releases to look forward to, and they could do like one a month for the following 5 months after like the June E3 time. And that could also be good depending on how they're doing these things, you know? That's when you start to wonder, okay, are they remasters or ports? If it's a remaster, would you sell individual games for $60? Would you make these discounted prices? Would you be selling these retail? Would you be selling these digital only? I mean, all of these details and questions we start to have once we think about this thing being real. So of course, it is a little bit early to start really predicting what they're going to do, but I like to think of the idea of multiple releases coming out, even if it's, you know, 2 games per package, or if they're all completely individual, whatever they do. I like the idea of more than one release because then, yes, that might be Nintendo's plan in the wake of this health crisis to pad out 2020 after E3. On one hand, it would be very exciting to have, you know, 4 or 5 months of new Mario remaster games coming to us. But on the other hand, it would also be kind of sad and lame because it means all we have to play are Mario games, right? And it's like, you know, if the only games you have to play are some of the greatest Mario games ever made in the history of video games, is that a real problem? And I mean, it's not the worst thing, obviously, because we like these games, but when that's the only new content you're getting from Nintendo on their Switch for a year, it's not the best. I mean, but I have to bring this back to what I said last week, and I'll say again here. At the end of the day, if this is stuff Nintendo ends up having to do because of this worldwide health situation, I have to be okay with it, and I have to allow them that, and I'm willing to just accept whatever it is they feel comfortable giving me as a fan in the year of 2020 when this health crisis is so seriously impacting so many companies, so many industries, and obviously Nintendo. That's okay. I am willing to allow Nintendo this time if they need this time to play catch up and to slow things down. After 39 years of fanship for me, well, I guess not 39 because the NES was released in 85, but you know, so 35 years of fanship from myself for Nintendo, they've earned that. Like, I want to give them that. Like, they've been around for so long doing so many good things. How could I get mad at them if they have to take a year off with this thing happening? It's such a big deal. And I just, part of the reason I'm even harping on this is because, you know, we all see other people being mad about it and not being willing to give Nintendo or other companies time to fix this. It makes me very sad because none of these companies, Nintendo or otherwise, are doing things like this on purpose. Naughty Dog isn't trying to ruin everyone's life with The Last of Us 2 delay. Nintendo isn't trying to ruin anyone's life with the lack of new games and Nintendo Directs. Like, a big thing is happening, and so people's business models are changing. Yes, partly driven by how can they get the most revenue and profit, but also because it's maybe the best thing to do for several other reasons that we all know. And so, you know, I'll stop beating this dead horse, and I'll just remind you guys, at the end of the day, I will be okay with it. Are the Mario games all we're going to be playing in 2020 for Nintendo? Maybe, maybe not. If so, I'm going to be okay with it. And if not, then maybe we just get surprised and see that there's other games Nintendo is still going to release. Or, of course, the third option is this whole rumor isn't even true, and we still don't even know what we're going to be playing in the rest of 2020. So, it's a weird time, it's a weird thing, but if these Mario games are real, I'm personally excited for them. So, what do you think? What do you think about my opinions here? What are your feelings on this whole concept and these Mario games, and if they're going to pad out and fill out 2020? It's a crazy time, so talk about what you think below. And with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.